What is up, Paub? Good morning, everybody. Today's recipient of an honorary degree will, I think, be familiar to almost everybody in the room. Many of you, for many of you, he will be best known for his Deadly 60 TV series, which saw him travel around the world looking at some of the planet's most fascinating wildlife. There are so many things I could say about him, but I will try to summarize my thoughts in three categories. Firstly, today's recipient is a natural educator. He is an explorer, a naturalist, a TV presenter, a best-selling author. As many of the people in this room will know, he's also an honorary lecturer in our School of Natural Sciences, where he teaches on various topics such as shark biology and science communication. I think that probably deserves a round of applause. With everything he touches, he finds a way to reach out to others, to take a complicated topic and break it down into bite-sized chunks. He explains which bits of the animal are important, which end is the dangerous one, which end is best for picking up, and which part enjoys being stroked and tickled, why the animal lives where it does, how does it fit into the ecosystem, what would go wrong if it no longer lived there. His approach is all about complicated ideas made simple, made relatable, so that we can grasp things in a language we can understand. There are a few talents that you need in order to be a good educator, and today's recipient has them all in spades. He's a natural teacher and an inspiration to us here in Bangor. Secondly, today's recipient is an enthusiast. He's passionate. The world has many teachers who are clear and well-organized, people who can break things down into bite-sized chunks. But clarity is not the same thing as passion. Great educators don't simply teach and inform, they inspire. It is that passion which means he is the holder of several BAFTAs, that he has led and filmed expeditions across the world. His passion is contagious because great educators make others want to get out there and to explore the world. Today's recipient has certainly done that, and for an entire generation of young people. I remember almost 15 years ago now when we gave an honorary degree to Sir David Attenborough on this very stage. Sir David spoke very movingly about how the world has many problems that need to be solved and a planet that needs saving. It's a great pleasure to see the similarities between today's recipient and Sir David, both of them inspiring us all to get up and do something about the many challenges we have in the world. Finally, today's recipient is a Renaissance man. He seems interested and involved in so many things. He is passionate, I suspect, about everything. If I can make a small fish joke, he is a man who puts the carp in Carpe Diem. He's an active supporter of many charities. He's an accomplished climber and a diver and a martial artist. He has, I think I remember correctly, spent a night in a Colombian jail and at one point held what is possibly the best job title in the world, Explorer in Residence with National Geographic. He's appeared on Strictly Come Dancing, on Celebrity Mastermind, on the Infinite Monkey Cage, on the cover of many men's fitness magazines. He is a linguist, I think, in 5 languages, including Tairnghi, some Welsh, which he's learned after becoming an honorary lecturer here in Bangor. So it's clear that he is an inspiration to many of our students. In fact, today's recipient is catching up with Sir David as the person who most of our students report in their UCAS personal statements has most influenced them to come and study the natural sciences. For the young people in the room today, and for the not so young, I also think it's important to remember that today's recipient broke into the world of television armed only with an idea and his own camera and the willingness to put in hard work. He shows us all what can be done if you mix passion with effort. Now, today's recipient has also said that he has one regret, which is that he didn't come to Bangor University to study natural sciences. I hope that being an honorary lecturer and member of staff here goes some way towards making up for that, and also to know that you have inspired so many young people to follow in your footsteps. So, Vice-Chancellor, today's recipient sets a wonderful example to our students of how to build a successful career based on the natural world, and also about how to generate change and make the world a genuinely better place. I therefore present to you for the award of an honorary doctorate, the remarkable Steve Backshall.
Bore da. Diolch yn dda iawn. Diolch am y croeso, Brifysgol Bangor. Llong y parci arael. Dwi wedi anghofio popeth Cymraeg, so you'll be glad to hear. I'm not going to try and continue butchering your wonderful language, but in English. How am I ever going to live up to that introduction? That's absolutely extraordinary. I have certainly never been described as a Renaissance man before, although I am going to get business cards with that printed out. That is absolute genius. The reason that I got in touch with Bangor about 5 years ago now to try and get involved with students here is because, quite simply, I think that this place offers the finest opportunity for any student of the natural sciences anywhere in the nation, and one of the finest in the world. You have on your doorstep such a surfeit of natural resources that no one else has. And to be able to study here and then go out and experience the natural world for yourself in the very finest of ways is what makes here so very special. North Wales has also been incredibly special to me. It's where I began my career in adventure. You know, some of my pokiest ever sea kayaks have been on the swirling currents of the Menai. Some of my greatest fell-running adventures across Crib Goch. Some of my most ignominious failures too. I remember actually taking a climbing colleague that I wanted to impress up a quite stern route on Tryfan. And about halfway up, there was a narrow balcony, and we sat down, and I took out of my backpack a disposable barbecue and a bottle of red wine and some food. And they were obviously incredibly impressed. Right up until the second that the mountain rescue helicopter started hovering about 10 meters in front of us because they thought the smoke from the barbecue was some kind of distress flare. And the only way I could put it out was by pouring the entire bottle of red wine all over the barbecue, which I then had to carry to the top and back down again. So yeah, massive success there. I would like to take this opportunity, though, to extend to my colleagues and my new friends here my continued commitment to working here. I still believe everything that I've just said, and more so, and I look forward to many years continuing to work here at Bangor. I was traveling up yesterday, and I was trying to think about what you all would want to hear today, and would you be interested in wise words and life lessons from, frankly, an old git. And I kind of thought, well, you're a bunch of students of the natural sciences. Surely what you would be more interested to hear as herpetologists and entomologists and zoologists would be my favorite topic, which is venom. So instead of whittering on about stuff you probably don't want to hear about, I'm going to tell you about the 3 worst stings I've ever had. In the 1980s, there was a scientist, an entomologist in America called Justin Schmidt, who developed a pain index. He systematically was stung by every one of the worst stinging insects in the world to develop an idea of how those stings rated. And I've been doing the same thing through my career, although it's not been systematic. It's mostly been through misfortune and stupidity. And in at number 3 would be the animal is in the Guinness Book of Records as the most venomous creature in the world. To all you marine biologists, it is a marine creature, which is kind of like a gelatinous cube. Anyone got any ideas what that might be? Anyone? Box jellyfish. Yes, of course it is. 50 deadly points to you down there at the front. Spot on. So it's the most venomous deadly creature in the world. Lining its tentacles are stinging cells called nematocysts, and it has the power to stop a human heart faster than any other animal. So when working with them in a laboratory in Queensland, I waited till all the other scientists had their backs turned and took a piece of tentacle and laid it across my forearm like that. And I can report that the sting of a box jellyfish smarts. Indeed, it's somewhat like an electric shock, and it leaves you with a red welt, kind of as if you'd pressed an iron into your forearm. That, though, is nothing compared to the sting of the world's largest wasp. Does anyone know what that is? Pepsis wasp, tarantula hawk wasp, giant wasp from South America. The body is about the size of my thumb. The wingspan can be about as wide as my hand. As an adult, they are not predatory at all. Instead, what they do is they will catch and sting a tarantula that might be many times their own size. They don't kill it, they paralyze it. And then they will lay their egg onto that tarantula, which develops into a larvae, which then eats around the internal organs so that the tarantula stays alive and the meat stays fresh for the maximum amount of time. Pretty grisly, but utterly astounding. While on expedition in Guyana in South America, I found this whole act in process and held in one hand the paralyzed tarantula and in the other hand the tarantula hawk wasp, which, not surprisingly, stung me on the thumb about 3 or 4 times. And so I was trying to deliver a piece about Darwinism and symbiosis and parasitism while it felt like someone was plunging a white-hot needle into my finger. Again, it most definitely smarts, but nothing compared to the world's most painful stinging insect, the world's largest ant, which is, anyone? The bullet ant. Yes, 100 deadly points for the person finally with enough guts to say it out loud. Thank you so much from the back there. The bullet ant, yes. Given that name, quite simply because the sting from one ant is said to be as painful as being shot. However, there's a tribe in Brazil called the Satere-Maui that take many hundreds of bullet ants and they weave them into a pair of gloves with the stingers on the inside. And then as a ceremony, as a ritual, the young boys will take those gloves, put their hands into them, and dance for about 15 minutes, being stung over and over and over again. And I can tell you, because I was lucky enough to join in with that ceremony, it is the most painful thing in the world. For hours after having put my hands in the bullet ant gloves, there was nothing in my world apart from pain. I couldn't even understand the people who stood next to me talking. It was absolutely overwhelming. And then in the days and hours that followed, I felt like a god. I felt like a superhero. I felt like I could fly. It was absolutely extraordinary. So why have I chosen to talk about this now? Well, anthropologists would refer to the bullet ant ritual as being a rite of passage, an important moment which marks a transition in people's lives. For the Satere-Maui, it's the transition from boyhood to manhood. I should say that the tribe told me, quite strictly, that this is not down to outdated sexism. The women and girls are absolutely allowed to take part, but they don't because they think it's stupid. Every culture that we know of around the world, and going back in time at least 50,000 years, has a rite of passage, a way that we can mark important moments in our life. And there are many things that they all have in common. They have pageantry. They have important artifacts that will be hidden away for the entire rest of the year, but only come out for that particular moment. And this, obviously, is our rite of passage. It has so much in common with the Satere-Maui. You know, instead of covering ourselves in tribal tattoos, we have our gowns. At the end of the ceremony, they take a local liquor, which is formed by all of the villagers sitting around with corn, chewing on it, spitting into a pot, and then the pot ferments, and everyone drinks it. I mean, it is a post-COVID nightmare. We don't have Masato. Instead, we have Jaeger bombs, which in some cases might be even worse. But rites of passage are hugely, hugely important. They're one of the key things that is universal and that makes us human. And for you all, this rite of passage is something very, very important and very special. You have placed yourself in a rare group of people. You know, 7% of the world's population are graduates. By becoming one, you have shown that you can study, that you can learn, that you can stick to a task, that you are resolute. And you've done it through, arguably, the hardest time in recent human history to be a graduate. What you've done is something very, very special. And I was really reminded of that last night when I was in Treborth with some of the graduates and their families. It just took me straight back to when I graduated and how proud my parents were. I was the first person in my family ever to go to university, and it was a huge, huge moment, both for me and for them. So, please, all of you, enjoy today, celebrate, share it with your families. You've earned it, and it is something that will make others see you differently and hopefully will help you all to see yourselves differently too. So, diolch yn fawr iawn. Llongyfarchiadau. Thank you all very, very much.